What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy, The Hater. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but The Hater used to be a mover for one summer many years ago. And The Hater has spent the vast majority of the day today hearkening back to those times because I was moving my own stuff from my apartment to the home. I also hired movers, but that's going to be in a week, and The Hater wants to be done that day. So with all that being said, cuckwads, The Hater is still not tired enough to stop. The Hater will not stop. The Hater's here with another video. Now, this video is going to be an effective sequel to yesterday's video about basically the worst, I hate to say main event, but the worst WrestleMania quote-unquote main event of all time. And this video is largely about the night one problem, as I'm going to call it. Now, the night one problem does not just refer to WrestleMania being 2 nights and everyone being forced to pretend that night one main event is somehow worthy of anything. That's not what I'm talking about, because that's just one symptom of the overall problem, which is the dilution of accomplishments, right? Now, wrestling is obviously a fake sport, but there is money to be made with people that are accomplished, right? So for example, beating The Undertaker's streak, let's use that as an example, is going to allow you to sell a lot of shirts that say, I beat the streak, something like that, right? That's a simple example, but I think it gets the point across. So throughout WWE, wrestlers have had different accomplishments. Like, for example, Brock Lesnar was the youngest world heavyweight champion in WWE history. Then he left, taking that accomplishment with him. So WWE pivoted, and they made Randy Orton the new youngest WWE champion in history. Great idea, obviously. Now, with all that being said, let's take a step back and think about what that means, cucks. That means that now we have another guy who holds the accomplishment. But what happens when that guy is no longer important? Or in the case of Randy Orton, what happens when the guy's no longer young? It doesn't matter anymore that Randy Orton is the youngest WWE champion because he's still there and he's in his 40s. So what happens? Well, I'll tell you what happens. We need new accomplishments. But we can't just keep beating every record. Otherwise, that just sounds stupid, right? Or can we? So what did the WWE do? Well, they decided to effectively artificially inflate the characters of people and their accomplishments. So for example, there's like 5 tag teams that have the record for longest something, right? That's because you have 3 tag team titles, and then these tag team titles get rebranded every couple of years. So for example, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods might be the New Day, I guess, because it's all 3 of them. They might be the longest reigning SmackDown tag team champions, but then now they're called the World Tag Team Champions, so someone else is the longest reigning World Tag Team Champion. You see what I'm saying? That's just an example. So you do this all the time. Like, for example, Finn Balor is the first Universal Champion, but this is not something you can brag about anymore because that title is obsolete. Obsolete, you know what I'm saying? So now we have to say, like, Gunther is the longest reigning World Heavyweight Champion in modern history, with this iteration of the belt, right? You can keep doing this again and again. And the logical conclusion of this is that nothing else matters. You know what I'm saying? Nothing matters anymore. So WWE is left with a few things that matter intrinsically, right? They just matter because they matter. You see what I'm saying? They matter because of themselves. It is self-evident why they matter. So for example, irrespective of WWE telling you that it's important to main event WrestleMania, you know and I know that it matters if you main event WrestleMania, right? It's kind of like, when UFC 400 rolls around in a couple of years, you know what I mean? That's going to matter. When UFC 300 rolled around, that's going to matter, right? It's kind of like that. Things that matter because they matter a lot of times. But WWE has diluted that as well, right? Think about it this way. Imagine if the Super Bowl were played twice, right? Not best out of 3 or anything like that. It's played twice. You have Super Bowl night 1, and Super Bowl night 2. So someone can say, well, I won Super Bowl night 1, and then the other team can win Super Bowl night 2, and everyone's happy. There's no real winner. That's what WWE has done with this night 1, night 2 business, as well as all the other tangential things that carry on the same meaning, right? It's the same fucking thing, cucks. It's the same thing. We have those scenarios where, we have night 1 and night 2, we have belt 1 and belt 2, and everybody has a record, which means that nobody has a record, right? And this is most blatant in this storyline that I mentioned. You know, there's a wrestler whose nickname is Main Event. Main Event Jey Uso, cucks. Now, imagine being called Main Event Jey Uso and knowing that you're not going to main event WrestleMania. Despite the fact that Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble, like we all knew, of course Jey Uso's not going to main event WrestleMania. He's Jey Uso, cucks. Jey Uso doesn't main event WrestleMania. Jey Uso is in a mid-card, middle of the card type shit night 1 match, right? It's a throwaway match. It's going to have the same level of importance as Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental title. It's just a Gunther match. That's never going to be a main event. Gunther, I don't think he's main evented anything except for Crown Stool, which obviously he lost, and the real main eventer there was Cody Rhodes, and also who the fuck cares? So with that being said, you got all these people that aren't going to main event just so CM Punk can main event. But in this lies the contradiction, right? The contradiction is that this main event with CM Punk, which has been working towards his whole career, doesn't feel like a main event. And the reason why it doesn't feel like a main event is because it's not a main event. You could call it whatever the fuck you want. Nobody cares about this match. The implication of a main event is not, like, nobody cares that the main event closes the show or not. The implication is, why are people tuning in? The answer this year is obviously for John Cena's last WrestleMania. That is literally all they have going for them this WrestleMania, right? And, you know, who knows? In 5-6 years, Cena might come back for a one-off, you know what I mean? Just like The Rock comes back now. So, you know, don't be too surprised if we see Cena again down the line. But the reality of the matter is that people are here for Cena. Night 1, as a result, doesn't matter at all. Nothing matters until Cena comes out. You may as well just have one match and have a bunch of Raw matches and SmackDown matches surrounding this. It's as simple as that. The fact that Roman Reigns doesn't wrestle on TV and CM Punk doesn't typically wrestle on TV and Rollins more and more infrequently wrestles on TV doesn't change the fact that they're still the same guys. You know, it's still the same CM Punk that would team up with Luke Gallows to get his ass beat by Chavo Guerrero. You know what I'm saying? It's still that same asshole. Stardust is still Stardust, right? So nothing has changed. But the reality is, for CM Punk, from a kayfabe perspective, CM Punk, and I don't like the kid, but I recognize that he's provided some good moments. You know, one of my favorite undercard matches of all time is Rey Mysterio versus CM Punk. I really enjoyed that at WrestleMania. Rey Mysterio versus Cody Rhodes is another one that I really, really like. You know, clearly Rey Mysterio is the person that I was cheering for, but nevertheless. So these people have had moments. You know, they haven't had, like, world championship moments. You know, they haven't had main event moments. Well, of course, Cody has, but CM Punk hasn't. But now CM Punk has to settle, essentially, for, number one, not being in a world title match, despite there being 2 titles. He's not good enough to even be in one of them, you know? And 2, he's not even in a match with any kind of repercussions. He's just there. This match is a main event match because Roman Reigns is in it. Again, when I say main event, I'm putting it in little quotes, cucks. Now, that brings me to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns' point, first of all, really makes him look like a complete retard. He's happy that he's elevating CM Punk and Seth Rollins to night 1 main event. Roman Reigns, if this character had any kind of consistency, he would knock on the door and he would say, I demand, by virtue of being Roman Reigns, just like Cena demanded, I demand that I am inserted in the night 2 main event where I belong. Instead, not only has Roman Reigns accepted his night 1 status, but he's proud of it, motherfucks. He's proud of being part of night 1. Like, part of night 1, imagine that. Like, I might skip night 1, you know what I mean? I don't give a flying fuck. What's gonna happen in night 1? Thus far, all we know is Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton. I have zero interest in that. And Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins, I have no interest in that. Couldn't give a rat's ass, cucks. The only main event that matters is the one of night 2. Now, let's say, for some reason, let's say John Cena gets COVID, God forbid, and this becomes the main event of night 2. Doesn't change anything, right? It changes nothing. CM Punk is not on the list now of important people this year. Sure, he's closing night one, which nobody cares about. But the fact of the matter is that CM Punk is not in a title match, and CM Punk hasn't earned this match at all. This was just a match that was made, you know? And they decided arbitrarily that this one's going to be, you know, the main event of night one. If they decided that it was going to be like literally any other match, like Orton versus Owens, you know, let's say they decided that was going to be the match. Then what? CM Punk is less happy because he doesn't close night one? None of this makes any sense, motherfuckers. This is a recipe for a fucked up WrestleMania, because the ultimate night one and night two is the fact that WrestleMania is 2 nights. That means that this card is overly inflated. Not this year. This year we have like 8 matches. It'll be like 4 matches and 4 matches or some bullshit like that. 5 and 5, at most 6 and 6. You know? We're not going to get these 2 baller-ass cards. We're going to get 2 boring-ass cards, or 1 boring-ass card divided into 2 shit nights. You know, in reality, what should happen is they put together a 7 or 8 match card where every match is entertaining or interesting. You know, where everything matters. You know, back in the day, you'd have like the hardcore title, and you could throw all the jobbers into like the hardcore title invitational. And then whoever wins a title at WrestleMania. It's like a feather in their cap. Like Bob Holly won the hardcore title at WrestleMania, and he was fun for a while. And then Crash Holly came along and stole all his thunder. You know what I mean? The tag team matches were somehow construed towards feuds. Either towards feuds or towards world-changing, like, stipulation matches. You know, it might not seem like much now, but tables, ladders, and chairs is a pioneering work. So that's a WrestleMania moment, just because of the fact it's the first match. Now, I don't even know what's happening with the tag team titles. It'll be like an 8-man tag match that Street Profits will win in 6 minutes. Who the fuck cares? Nobody cares at all. Like, nobody's tuning in for that. But believe you me, motherfucks, back in the day, people were tuning in for TLC. People were buying the pay-per-view, not because of Stone Cold, Triple H, and The Rock. They were buying it because of TLC 1 and TLC 2. These were pay-per-view sellers. You know, like, you think Montez Ford has ever sold 1 pay-per-view? Like, you think there's ever been a person in the history of the world, right, who has thought, man, you know what, I wasn't going to buy this pay-per-view, but now I learned that Montez Ford is in it, so I'm going to buy it. Those words have never come out of a mouth until I just said them, cucks. So with that in mind, you know, this whole night 1, night 2 problem is what it is. You know, there was more prestige in being in that co-main event type match, like the third to last match, you know what I mean? Because back in the day, the way it would work would be like, there was like the third to last match, which would be like, you know, Shawn Michaels versus Jericho, or, you know, Triple H versus The Undertaker, like that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And then you'd have like the women's match, which is like the, okay, everyone go take your shit and piss and come back for the main event. Then you'd have the main event. That match, like a Jericho versus Shawn Michaels, that match is more compelling than the main event of night 1. But all they want is to be able to say that mid-carders have main event at WrestleMania. And look where it's gotten us, right? It's gotten us not in a good spot. It's gotten us in a world where the following people, I'm going to list them, motherfucks, are WrestleMania main eventers. Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, right? Cucky Owens, Sami Zayn, cucks. Of course, Cucky Rhodes. And now Seth Rollins, and of course, CM Punk. These people are now WrestleMania main eventers. Bianca Belair is a WrestleMania main eventer. I think she wrestled Sasha Banks or something. These jobbers, these nobodies, are now WrestleMania main eventers. So the question is, why the fuck would I give a flying rat's ass? A flying rat's ass. A portmanteau, a flying fuck and rat's ass. A bat's ass. Why would I care about next year's Royal Rumble or even next year's Elimination Chamber? Chances are that the main event now might be some random ass dudes. You know? Like John Cena wins the Royal Rumble, but wait a second, R-Truth and Otis are going to be in the main event for absolutely no reason. Now, I know some of you are thinking, hold on, hater, this is Roman Reigns and CM Punk we're talking about. I would prefer R-Truth and Otis. Unironically, I'm not joking. I would rather see R-Truth and Otis main event than see Roman Reigns and CM Punk. I believe R-Truth and Otis deserve it more in terms of their careers and this last year. I think they're more entertaining. And honestly, like, I enjoy seeing them more than I enjoy seeing CM Punk and, at this point, Roman Reigns, who just, like, he's like the most contradicting character ever. he's happy now with being like a jobber, basically. He like, why is he even in this match? You know, why, like the feud is CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. Why is he in the match? I mean, the answer is he's in the match just because, like, without him, this is like a Raw opening match, you know? But with him, it becomes at least a night one main event, so maybe he should be proud of it. You know, I said Roman Reigns shouldn't be proud of elevating these jobbers, but, like, maybe he should be, because think about it. You know, we have, like, the two biggest jobbers of all time, Seth Rollins and CM Punk. All they've done is lose for the whole year. Oh, CM Punk beat Drew McIntyre in a bracelet match. Fuck them both. What do you think of them apples? That being said, Cooks, haters out of here. I gotta go take a shower up in this mug.